We made it. Who's on with me today? It's so good to see you and to be here with you, and happy Easter if you celebrate, and happy Passover if you celebrate, and happy Sunday if you should celebrate. I hope everything is good in your world, and I appreciate your patience today. It is so good to be here. I feel like it's been a while. Take 1 week off. So today I want to do something a little different. I know usually I try to share with you some sort of insights or stories or things that can sort of maybe lift you up or give you a different perspective on things or whatever. But today I thought we would do something a little different. And if you don't already have a pen and paper, it might come in handy today. I am going to give you a printout. You don't have to print it out. You can totally do this just by making chicken scratch on a piece of paper, or back of an envelope, whatever you need to. But, you know, printouts are always nice. So, as soon as I get myself organized with the link, this is what you're going to be getting today. Because today's kind of feels like, it always feels to me like April 1st is really spring, right? Now, around here, it's been a weird morning already, even though it's only just past 10:30. We've had crazy winds, crazy rain, like rain that woke me up out of a dead sleep. Sunshine that I needed sunglasses to like practically be in my house. And we're kind of back to sun again. So we went rain, so I don't know what's happening, but hi, spring. It's good to see you. And I think spring is sort of starting to erupt all over the place, except for a few friends that I have in Ontario who saw snow yesterday. Enjoy that. Keep it, please. But spring is a time of renewal. It's a time of birthing, but it's also a time of planting seeds to harvest later. So this is kind of like, if you think of the seasons, kind of like our own path, right? Because there's times in our lives where we plant those seeds. There's times when we fertilize and love and nurture those seeds. And then there's times when we harvest the results, right? And then if you're smart and you listen to your self-care coach, there's also a time where we need rest, right? And that's just like the seasons. Spring, summer is the nurturing and the beginning of harvest. Fall is the really big harvest time. And winter is kind of that time when we get to rest. So we're moving into the perfect time to start setting some intentions, some big, serious intentions. And so in order to do that, I have a very strong belief that in order to set really strong intentions, you first need to look at where you are right now and get really deep and really honest. And so today, I want to share with you a tool that I use in my coaching groups and also in my one-on-one clients, but especially my coaching groups, because it's one that you can do on your own and you can do it frequently. You can do it, I do it every quarter. So I was going to do this weekend anyway, and then I thought, well, it's Easter. I'm not exactly the Easter bunny, but I can give you a little gift. I'm sorry it's not chocolate. I'm sure there'll be enough of that. So I'm going to put the printout in a link, and it will be up. It's in my, do you know you can't upload a PDF to Facebook? I tried yesterday for quite some time, far more time than I should have. So what I've done is I'll have a link to the PDF in my Dropbox, and you can just download that to your own computer and print it out at your own desire and save it for later. But it will look something like, and I know this is reversed, like this. So it's really quite lovely. You know, I love color. You could print it in black and white, of course. Now today, I know you don't have the printout, but if you were able to catch my comment earlier, a piece of paper and a pencil will do just fine. I actually, the Wheel of Life, I mean, it's such a great tool to start some introspection, but you can actually take this and adapt it so that you're looking at sections, you're looking at specific things in your life, and it just gives you a really good visual and a way, a tool to reflect. Because I'm always telling you, take some time to reflect, right? But I know sometimes you're like, well, what does that mean? How do I do that? And that's one of the questions that often comes up in my coaching groups. How do I do that? Right? It's very easy for me to say, you know, practice self-care. Well, how do I do that? And that's why people come to the coaching groups, the how, right? And how do I reflect? Well, there's lots of ways to do that. One of them is the Wheel of Life. And this is a really common tool. You may have even done something like this before, but there are ways to take the Wheel of Life and get like, you know, you could do a surface overlook, which is kind of what we're going to do today. Just have a reflection on where we are right now in life. Or you can take it and you can get really, really deep with it. This is I refer to stuff like this as catalyst tools. This is a jumping off point. You can stop. You could do this with me today and never look at it again. You could. Not much usefulness to that, but you could. Or you can use this as a jumping off point to start setting your intentions, and I'll get into that, but also as a place to continue reflecting. So you're going to get a link to this. Hopefully. My laptop had a little sadness this morning, so I will try to do that. But seriously, you can just do this on your own. I often will do this, adapted ones, in my journal, just so I can get a clear visual, get all those jumbled thoughts out of my head and be able to see, right, to see a picture of it. And this actually is a lot of fun. So if you are, let me just grab my beautiful 100-year-old laptop and see if I can get that link for you. Meanwhile, grab your piece of paper and just draw yourself a circle, nice big circle. You don't need the colors. I mean, I love beautiful things. I'm a Libra, what can I say? And so just draw a circle and then put 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. That's all we're gonna do today, okay? So do that. And then here's another important aspect to this, because like I said, I use these every quarter and sometimes more frequently. It's really important to put the date on it. And I'll tell you why. The date, sorry, I'm just trying to put the link in here for you. The date allows you to go back and see where you were. So if I don't have the date on my quarters, I can't go back and compare and see how far I've come. It's as simple as that. And that's kind of nice. So on the Wheel of Life, even the one I have, actually, you can see there's your name and your date. This is the one that I use for my workshops, so of course we put our name. If you're just doing it at home, you may not have to do that because you know who you are. And then what we do is we're going to label each and every little piece of the pie, okay? So if you have your pen and pencil handy, sorry, hold on one sec, I really want to get this link for you. This is why I need a personal assistant and a butler. Simon is of no use. You're going to label those for me, and I'm going to go through them really quick with you. So if you're doing this with me, have your circle drawn. Draw your 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 8 pieces of the pie. One will be labeled friends and family. One is labeled significant others. And those are a little different from friends and family because those are much more intimate relationships. And the next one, I label personal growth because it's a very nice general term, and we're going to get into what these mean in a moment. And then fun and leisure. So right now we've kind of gotten around the corner. So we've gotten friends and family, significant other, personal growth, fun and leisure, home environment. Now the next one is career. And then we've got, you can either call it finances or just plain old money. And we're going to talk again about what this all means. All right. So I am, hopefully that link works. If not, I will sort that out. Okay, so we've got, where are we? Friends and family, significant other, personal growth, fun and leisure, home environment, career, money, health. And that should take up all of these spaces. Okay? And again, I will make sure that this gets into our files in our group. Okay, so there's like up at the top where you see photos and all that. There's also a drop down for files. So I'll go through it one more time and then I'm going to explain to you what to do and how this works. Okay, and once you do it, you'll be like, well, duh, this was super easy. But like I said, you can do what we're going to do today, which is kind of just a sort of a shallow look at this and an overview so we can take a good look at our life and where we are right now this spring so that we can set some really powerful intentions. But, and you know this if you're in one of my coaching groups, you can get ridiculously deep with just this tool. And I think as you go through it, you'll start to see that anyway. So one more time, you've got a section for friends and family, significant other, personal growth, fun and leisure, home environment, career, money, health, and back to friends and family. Okay? So if you're doing this with me, just give me let me know that everything's good. If you have any questions too, or you're not sure about something that I've said, just feel free to pop a comment into the comment section. And even if you're watching this later, I will definitely come back, okay, and check for those questions and comments. So even if you're watching this later, don't worry, I am here for you. I want this to be something that you really enjoy and is powerful and useful for you. Okay, so now we have our wheel. Easy peasy, right? Not hard. We set that up. And if you've chicken scratched it, good for you. Now it's very personal. All right, so the whole point of a wheel of life, the overall point of it is to see how balanced your life is. And what that means to me and what that means to you could be very different. Right? I might be perfectly fine not having a fancy career, right? I'm like working in a retail store. I start at 9, I end at 5, I'm done. It's a job and I'm happy with it, it's fine. And that could be fine. But for someone else, what that means is I'm not far along enough in my career. It's really important to me that I get my PhD and I do some fancy research and win the Nobel Prize. I mean, it's so variable. So it's super important that when we're talking about the different sections and we're working with them, which we are just about to do, that we recognize it doesn't matter what it means to me. It doesn't matter what it means to anybody else in our group or anybody else out in the world. It's only important what it means to you. And so I do something a little different. You know what, let's just jump in because I don't want to keep you here. I know we usually try to do about a half an hour class talk. And I want to try to honor that, although I think we're probably going to go over a little bit today. I hope that's okay with you. But let's jump in. So what we want to do with this is we want to get a picture, right? Our brains love symbols and pictures. And that is because the oldest part of our brain associates really easily with symbols and pictures. Hello, lizard brain. And it's easier for us to see, right? If we can get a good picture. So that is what we're going to do today. Okay. So let's start with a simple one. Let's start with friends and family. Yeah? We're going to do all of them anyways, but let's start easy. Let's ease our way into this. So you can, if you so choose, and if this is something that makes more sense for you, you can put a line in between here and actually separate friends from family. Now, keeping in mind, you have a section in this particular wheel that I set up for a significant other. And that can be your husband, your wife, your live-in partner, your boyfriend, someone you don't know yet, someone you're waiting for. It doesn't matter. But friends and family is, I separate them because I think those are two different things in our world, in our consciousness. You don't have to when you do your own wheel, but for today, hang in there with me, okay? But friends and family, if those are two very different things for you, you can, of course, separate them into another two smaller pieces. You don't have to. So what I want you to do is you're going to start, and you can see there is an example for you right here. Okay? So this is an example, meaning they've already completed this, and it's just a really quick example. So what you're going to do is your friends and family, right? So the point in the middle is where you're going to assume that you're completely and utterly dissatisfied. That would be like point 0, okay? I am completely and utterly dissatisfied with how that looks in my life right now. This is like taking a quick snapshot of your life in this moment. Okay, tomorrow it could change. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about being right. And don't do, and a lot of us do this when we start doing these things because we want to do what we want it to be. Of course, we want everything to be all 10s, right? This is 0, 10 would be right up here. It's just not the case. And here's the kicker. If you're in my groups, you know this, and I usually get a lot of groans. Well, what do you do when your life is at a 10? Oh, no problem. You set a higher goal, a higher standard, and you start over. But for today, what you're going to do is you're going to just sort of gauge. 0, I have got nothing for you here. It's completely unsatisfying. And you're going to go all the way up to, I couldn't imagine things being any better. That's exactly how I want them to be in my life right now. And then somewhere in the middle is where most of us are. So what you're going to do is just pencil or pen, it doesn't matter. This is just a tool. So don't get too hung up on being right or perfect or what will it look like to Bonnie or what will, it doesn't matter. This is just a snapshot. So you can, here I will do just like this. Boom. Done. Okay, so that is all you have to do, but take a moment and let it sit, right? Let it sit with you. I do these quite often, okay? And I want you to think, what would it be like if you found success? What would that look like for you, and have you reached it? Because I don't want society's version of what this should look like for you. I want your version of what this looks. So in terms of friends, what would it look like if you were really satisfied and you felt like you had a really successful life in terms of friendships and family? What would that look like? And are you there yet? Are you definitely not there yet? Right? It's totally up to you how you view each and every one of these. And in fact, quite often, in my workshops, I will give people time to write some notes here about what they're looking for to get a 10. Okay, and you could do that. I don't know that we'll have time to do that right now, but you could totally do that after we're done talking here today. Okay, so let's move on to significant other. Same thing. What would it look like in terms of your connection with the idea or thought of, significant other in your life? What would be something, like what would you look at that relationship or connection and go, damn, I'm really successful at this. This is really good. What does that look like for you? Right? Because if you don't know what you want, you've heard me say this a million times. If you don't know what you want, how do you know when you've got it? Or what you're looking for? So write that down, draw your line. Okay. Now, in terms of significant other, a lot of this is going to depend on your actual situation right now. You could change that title to dating, spouse, life partner, future partner, previous partner, right? Your relationship with someone, maybe the father or the mother of your child who you're separated from. Like, it can really vary depending on your own personal situation. So you've got to figure out, what would success look like? Satisfaction, fulfillment. Those are the things that we should be looking for. So what would be a fulfilling relationship there? What would that look like? Working into personal growth. Now this one, I do change sometimes for my groups, depending on what the group is focused on. This could be changed easily to learning, right? You could be someone who collects degrees. I wouldn't know anyone like that, degrees and certificates. You could look at this as spirituality. You could look at this as a religious aspect of your life. Whatever personal growth looks like for you, that's what you're going to focus on. Okay, so you can see how this gets tailored quite a bit to you. And that's why these are such broad categories. And you are free. I mean, I usually change mine to self-development from personal growth, just because I view that a little differently. But personal growth can be a very wide category. So you got to kind of figure out what that means for you and draw your line. Okay, remembering that this point in the middle is the 0, and then it goes up to being 100% satisfied. And fun and leisure is always an interesting one. I mean, I guess we could really just change that to recreation, but also it could be a really general term. How much fun are you having in your life? How much fun do you give yourself permission to have in your life? It doesn't always mean taking the Lifetime Achievement Award in, whitewater rafting. It could just simply mean, do I have time to be silly and laugh? Do I allow myself to be goofy sometimes and have a big belly laugh with my friends or my kids? Or am I so stuck in kind of getting everything done and, maybe presenting a certain persona that I'm missing out on having a lot of fun? Okay, so again, we've got to tailor it to you and what's important to you right now in your life. Okay, so draw your line. Home environment. Now this is an interesting one. You could, if you're one of those people that spends 90% of their time at work and it's more advantageous for you to look at that part of your life, you could change this to work environment, right? If that's something that's been an issue for you and you want to work on. You could also split it if you really needed to. For me, home environment is really important. I create a sacred space in my home, so that when I walk through this door, my energy rises and I feel at home. And it's a place that is safe energetically for me. And I do a lot of things in order to make that happen. And sometimes that gets messed up. So that is something that I do. I know other clients of mine in coaching groups have looked at this because their work is very toxic and it's something that weighs on them a lot. And so that's something that they want to work on with their intentions, so they do change it. So that's totally doable. This is just me going through this tool with you and helping you understand how it works so that you can use it by yourself. You're welcome. You're very welcome. So then we're going to move on to career. Okay. And this doesn't have to be a job, right? Being a full-time mom or dad is also definitely in the career. That's a hell of a lot of work. And it is something that many people aspire to. They would love to be able to spend more time with their children and raise their children 100% of the time. It can also be something you're doing, maybe you don't get paid for, but it's really important to your happiness and self-fulfillment, right? So that's totally up to you again. Now let's talk money. I kind of feel like maybe I should apologize for this one. This one tends to stress people out. Money, I want you to think about your relationship with money. How is your relationship with money? Are you friends with money? Do you feel like financial security is something that you need to focus on? Or you don't focus on and you need to maybe start paying attention to? It can be an emotional thing. There's a lot of emotional triggers around money, and I actually have not one, not two, but 3 wheels of life expanded. So it's the whole thing is categories about money to help people get some insights. Money is a tricky subject. It's a really tricky subject. There's a lot of emotional connections to money. So again, is it financial well-being that you're focusing on? Let yourself really sit with it. And if you're not quite ready to put the line on, don't do it yet. You can totally sit with this after we're done. I'm just trying to kind of go through it really quickly so you get a deep understanding of what it is you're doing without me keeping you here, because it usually takes us about 30 to 45 minutes just to go through this part. And I'm kind of rushing a bit, but you can always go back and watch this video. I will post it. And you can always pause it when there's a video that's been recorded, which is nice, and work and sit with it. Allow yourself to really sit and feel it out, because your emotional triggers are going to be clicked for these. And then you've got health. And this could be your physical health. Could also be your emotional health, your mental health, or a combination of all 3. Right? It could also be your spiritual health. Okay, and that is yes, it's a real thing. It totally is. Your spiritual health is you, right? How healthy is your connection to you? Okay. So, when you're finished, you're going to have the weirdest looking wheel in the world. And that's a good thing. So remember, you've got your example. Okay? And it will look kind of disjointed like that. And the first question I say to people is, imagine if I took away the outside circle, I took away this circle, and these lines made up your new wheel. How's your life running? A little bumpy. And that's kind of the point. Now, of course, nobody is in perfect balance, right? Nobody. Not any of the spiritual leaders, not even Oprah. Nobody's life is in perfect balance. But what you will notice is there are some areas that are really, like this number 2 section, is really close to 0. And that can give you a really great place to start if you're looking at what intentions do I need to be setting for spring, for this quarter of the year. What seeds do I need to be planting? What shifts do I need to be making in my life? What do I perhaps need to weed out before I can plant some seeds? It can give you some insight. And when you're looking at your wheel, I would ask you to consider what surprises you about this. Were there any surprises for you? Any places where you were kind of like, I didn't expect that. How do you feel about your wheel? About how it looks right now? It can be kind of an emotional trigger, and it kind of should be. You know what I mean? I mean, you get better at acknowledging, and you get more confident and comfortable with the weirdness of it and the unbalanced look of it. But at first, it can be a little disconcerting, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. So pick a space and ask yourself, how much time do you spend there now? And are you okay with it? Like I said, if my career is like at a 5, but I don't really care that much, like I don't feel a lot of emotional connection to wanting to move that up to a 10, not worried about it. It's not something I need to worry about. But if let's say my friends and family is a 5, and I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. This is important to me. Then I would like you to ask yourself, what would it take? And this is where we start getting deeper with it, by the way. And this would be a great thing to journal about, or even just scribble some notes beside, flip your paper over, whatever you got to do. It's a really great idea to get this stuff out of your head, though. When it's in your head, it just sort of spins around in there and makes you nauseous. But what would it take to raise it up? Maybe 2 points, 3 points? The reason I say that is because if you're at like a 2, if you're quite low in if you've got your space, like say what we were talking about career is as at a 2, and it's really important to you, and you're thinking, holy crap, what gives, what's happening here, right? Don't try to jump all the way to a 10. That's a big gap, and it's going to be really tough to do, and you're going to end up getting frustrated. You want to go up in increments of 2, maybe 3. What would it take to get from a 2 to a 5? Or from a 5 to a 7 or 8? Right? Or an 8 to a 10. So ask yourself, what would it take to improve this just a little bit? And start writing those things out. That's a brainstorm for you. That's a great journaling topic. Okay? And you can do that for each section, although I do tend to recommend that you keep it to 2, maybe 3 sections. You cannot adjust your whole life all at once. You will go crazy. It's too much. When you set intentions to shift something in your life, it's a lot of mental, emotional, and spiritual work, sometimes even physical. And if you're trying to do too much, what ends up happening is you get frustrated, overwhelmed, setbacks throw you completely off center, and you end up, burning out and you just stop the whole thing. And we don't want that, okay? So pick 2 I would really say 2 at max if this is the first time that you've done something like this. And figure out, what would your score of 10 look like? Write it, describe it in great detail. That's a great exercise all on its own. It's another one that we'll do another day, I think. But then ask yourself, what would it take to go from a 2 to a 4 or a 5 or a 5 or a 7? And just a few increments up. What would it take to change that? How would it look? How would it feel? And what would you have to do in order to make that happen? So, your job is to take a look at your wheel and decide which categories you want to actually improve. Like I said, the lowest ones don't have to be the ones that you work on. They don't. They absolutely don't. They're definitely something that you want to look at and decide if it's where you want to focus your energy and time. But the lowest ones are not necessarily where you always want to go. Okay? If it doesn't have a lot of meaning for you, there's no point to that. Okay? So really look at the categories that are on the lowish side and which ones have the most meaning to you that you want to improve. And then you're going to ask yourself what it would take to move up a couple of notches. And then you're going to ask yourself, how and where can you make space in your life for making that happen? And that may take some weeding, meaning dropping some other things, right? Or letting go of some things, or asking some things to get the hell out. But where can you make space and where can you make time to make these things happen? Because without that, this is just a pretty paper, right? The other part of that is, where can you make spaces? You're not alone in this. You don't have to be alone in this. It's my firm belief that people are not meant to walk this path by themselves. That's why we found our group, right? That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. That's why people in my coaching groups have actually been kind of bugging me, because I haven't started a new one in a little while. And they want it. They want that tribe. They want that connection, and they want to have someone to work with. But that's why, because we're not meant to walk alone. So once you figure out what steps you need to take, where you can make some space, I want you to also consider What help do you need? What support do you need? That could be a coaching group. It could be one-on-one coaching. It could be finding an accountability buddy, a gym buddy, if that's, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. It could be setting reminders in your phone. There's a lot of ways that you can give yourself support, but I would ask you to also consider, where can you look outwards to find support and help to move you along this path? Because you know the curve, right? We go, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm setting these goals, it's going to be fabulous. And then there's a crash. There's always a crash. And we sometimes need some help to get back up. Okay? So write those things down. Who can you ask for support? Where can you go to get it? Okay? And then I want to ask you to consider, what do you need to do first? And here's where we set our next goal or intention. What do you need to do first? Okay? And then, I mean, at that point, this is where we start writing goal cards, and we start doing vision boards, and we start, you know, branching out into really embracing the intention that we're going to set. So, all I'm really looking for from you, once you finish this and you've gone through those questions, is like one key action that you're going to take in the next, say, 48 hours. Just one action that's going to make you move forward towards raising the balance of your life. So, I know that went kind of quick, and it went kind of fast, and again, it didn't go really fast because we went over our usual time. So, let me know if there's any questions. Do let me know if you like this tool, or you like the idea of having these kinds of like workshop type Sunday lives, and we'll see a little bit about making some more of these happen if you enjoyed it. I know normally I pull cards for you, but I think I'm going to do that in a separate thread just because this is getting a little long for us today. And I'm so grateful for you, and that you are here, and that you are willing to embrace growing you this spring and making things happen in your world. And I am here for you to help in any way that I can. Please let me know. Meanwhile, have a great rest of a Sunday and an Easter weekend and Passover and whatever else that your heart is craving to do. And I bless everyone here with good wishes and lots of love. Okay? I will see you soon. Bye.